evening, everybody. This is Mike Tedesco of Wrestleview.com.
And Victoria Tedesco.
All right. Victoria, can you just push your camera over just a little bit towards this way?
That way?
Yeah, then we'll be all set. I thought we had the camera set up all before. Dealing with new technology here today.
That better?
No, over this way.
That's what I was doing.
Yeah, you got to really turn your computer. Just tilt it. Turn it over this way.
Like that?
Good. Perfect. Victoria is centered. All right. Welcome to the show. Wrestleview Post Raw number 87. And very happy to be here tonight with you all. Honestly, I've been watching these shows. I have nothing to complain about lately. I got to say, like, the new reign under Bruce Pritchard, it's been pretty good.
Yeah. No, I definitely have to agree with that. It's making, I don't know if it's the new normal per se, but it's definitely making it a little bit more enjoyable each week. So with and slight changes too. No, I don't think anything's been drastic necessarily.
Good. Yeah. It's I don't know. Like, I actually feel like it's been just easier to watch. I don't know.
Yeah, but do you feel like it's been drastic changes? I don't feel like it's been drastic changes. I think it's slight enough where I don't notice. I mean, I notice things that are definitely different from Heyman's control, but it's at the same time though, I don't feel like it's so outlandish with Pritchard's doing right now that it's it's just overall, yeah, it's easier to watch, but I don't feel like it's anything like crazy out of the ordinary.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe things are just making more sense, and
that could be.
Who knows?
Yeah, that could definitely be. Like, just the way, like, it's laid out, like, kind of like everything goes in seamlessly, one into the next, one into the next.
Yeah,
you know
like
the
transitions and stuff like that. Yeah.
Which I definitely appreciate. Like even like a little thing, like they did like an interview with, I forget who it was. I think it was MVP and Bobby Lashley were like backstage or something like that, and then they walk by and there's Seth Rollins and Murphy standing there, and then they go into their thing.
That's
it's just like,
that's what I'm saying. It's
like
flowing nicely,
right?
Yeah,
and it's like I felt like for the last year, 2, 3 on the show, it's like everything is just like on a formula. It's just like, this is how we do it. This is how we've always done it. Contract signings that come out, you get in the fight at the end. This time we open up the show tonight. You got the big fight at the beginning, and it just moves on from there.
It's kind of that good compromise, believe it or not. We'll talk a little bit more about it in just a few moments, but it's kind of a good compromise of when we watched tonight, I was almost taken aback the fact that there were people fighting in the ring,
right.
That there were people brawling. And I almost thought at first, I'm like, oh, did something happen on SmackDown that I wasn't aware of, you know? But when I was looking, I'm like, oh, it's a nice change of pace. It led eventually into like a segment, a talking segment, but it wasn't initially you're waiting there for somebody to speak with the microphone. Something a little bit different.
Right.
Wasn't a match, but it wasn't, you didn't open up with someone necessarily talking right from the get-go either. So it was a good kind of like compromise almost.
That I definitely appreciated. So 3 weeks into the Bruce Pritchard thing, I've been happy watching Raw. It's 3 hours still, but it doesn't feel like 3 hours. It doesn't feel like we're, sitting through and just like, when is this thing over? When are we going to finish this? What's going on here? It's just been an easier watch, and that you're not going to get me to complain about that whatsoever.
Definitely not.
Now, before we get into this whole entire thing, let's say hello to some of the people in the chat room.
Only some of the people?
Well, let's say hi to all of them. Let's say hi to all of them. Okay, we will definitely say hi to all of them. So, in the chat room, we got your buddy, Andrew Elder.
Hi, Andrew.
All right. Billy Hefner. Uncle Billy's in the chat room.
Hi, Uncle Billy.
Chris LG in the chat room. Hello, everyone. Nafis. I have officially stopped watching wrestling. I'm only around the recaps for the social aspect. Too much of my time wasted in a week. Yeah,
I get that. I got that. I mean, it's nice that some people are doing that, though, where even if they're not watching the show, they're coming to our show to catch up.
Yeah, I'll never argue against that ever. And we're always happy to have Nafis here. Nafis is our dear buddy, a good man.
Absolutely.
We got Mashoon Walls in the chat room tonight as well. Hello, Tedesco's and peeps. And Quentin Walters, is this WrestleView in HD? Yes, it is. I finally got my new computer all set up. And
it's very nice.
It is really, really nice. And whereas like every time I went to do a recap on my Mac, like one of these post shows on my MacBook, the CPU usage was like at like 50% throughout the entire thing.
Yeah.
Right now I'm at 3.7%, and I'm running at 60 frames per second. So hopefully it's coming through nice and clear. I just got this webcam today. Victoria's still on her old one, and she doesn't need much HD to look really, really good. I should have I should have went cheaper actually on this webcam. I think if I'm too HD, that could hurt our show quite a bit.
Oh my gosh.
I think it could.
You're a knucklehead.
You're a knucklehead. Fucking knucklehead. All right. Let's see. Oh, Mr. V is in the chat room today.
Hey.
Buenos noches. Buenos tardes, familia de Tedesco. Ah, thank you very much, sir.
I love that.
Nafisco is not 69%. Oh my god, I should have said the CPU is running at 69%. Ah, damn. Oh god, Nafis goes, oh yeah, you're extra HD. I can see the pores. Oh god, no. What did I you know what? You're getting this camera next time. I'm taking the old one.
Oh gosh.
I'm taking the old one.
You don't want to see my face in HD either. So.
Yes, everybody. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Jorge Oliva in the chat room. Hola,
Hello.
amigos. Hi from Tijuana, Mexico. Always look forward to your recaps. Thank you, Jorge. We
love that.
Love having you here every time. Do you think crowds will be back by Royal Rumble 2021? I would keep it crowdless for the rest of 2020 for safety.
You know what? That's a really good question. I actually do believe that they will be crowdless, probably. I think, well, knowing WWE and Vince, he's going to try to get crowds, probably. But
there's real talk about trying to get crowds in. If this COVID outbreak, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes, because I have a lot to say about this. I know Victoria does as well.
Yeah.
If this COVID outbreak didn't happen, they contacted a Florida company that deals with extras and stuff like that. They were going to rent an 8,000 seat arena and get this company to kind of provide them with, people for their shows, so they could say that they're the first thing to do an indoor sporting event, but since they had the outbreak, that's been put on hold, but might be August.
I don't know.
Legit crowds?
I don't know, because I find with the wave, there are states that are getting the second wave right now. And I mean, if they even have the first wave to begin with, truth be told,
there won't be a second wave. Yeah. Cause it's never going to end the first wave.
Right. So I really don't know, because I feel like too, the more and more cases that we do learn about, I don't think people are going to want to attend. You're not getting me in an arena. I could tell you that right now. So
nor I, and I love going to the shows.
I would say comfortably that people can go maybe 2021, possibly. And that's even a stretch, honestly, at this point, too.
We got Grash in the chat room tonight, and Grash says no crowds, nope, until a vaccine is found, no crowds. And I got to agree with Grash there. You just don't want to risk it.
Problem even with that is, and again, we'll speak about it in a few moments, but problem with that is that you're going at people who aren't going to take the vaccine either. So it's even though it's out there, it's not necessarily going to solve the problem, because they're not going to make everybody. It's not going to be mandatory.
Well, I think if you do get the vaccine, it's almost got to be like one of these things where it's sorry, not like 1984 levels of Big Brother, but we have to do something to know who's vaccinated, who's not. Like I said from the beginning, like everybody's talking about, the tests. As they keep running tests, the numbers go up and blah 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 blah. Whether that's true or not, from the get go, we should have had tests for everybody. It should have been mandatory testing, so we know who has the damn thing and who doesn't. We could have gotten ahead of this thing. We never did. I don't know why we pussyfooted around testing. But now it's going to be if we get a vaccine that's usable on humans and doesn't cause our skin to melt 5 years after taking it.
Right.
Which we won't know. It's going to be very untested. Vaccines usually take about 10, 15 years to come out into the market.
Right.
Just to make sure nothing happens. But if you get it, you should be given documentation, and you should have free reign to go into high concentration situations like that, where there's going to be a lot of people in one place. So it's if you want to go to a football game, you got to have your documentation. You want to go to an arena, you got to have your documentation. You want to go to a crowded restaurant, you got to have your documentation.
That's what I'm saying.
You have the vaccine
but I don't know necessarily.
How are we all supposed to feel safe?
Yeah, but I don't necessarily know though if.
But I guess if you have the vaccine,
problem.
But I guess if you have the vaccine at the same time, you don't have to worry about if the guy has COVID next to you if you're vaccinated from it. But
In theory.
In theory, that's if the vaccine is really good. I mean, they come out with a flu shot every year trying to get ahead of whatever strain the flu is going to be that year. It doesn't mean that it's going to be effective. There's some flu vaccines that are very effective for that winter and some that really aren't.
Well, what's interesting about this virus, it behaves it's very odd because, you read about different people. A couple of my cousins had it. They wound up being okay. It took a while for them to recuperate. Then you have people who we in our family who've had it, totally asymptomatic.
Yeah.
Like no symptoms at all. And then there's people who've had it that friends that I've known as well who, like, their husband had it. Nobody else in the family got it. And they got tested like multiple days in a row, 2 weeks straight. And he was the only one who had it. So it's a very, very strange disease. And I think that's why, just in general, nobody really can get ahead of it, only because we don't know what it does in a sense of, like, for one individual, it's pretty straightforward. They get the cough, they get the sore throat, they get the upper respiratory thing. Some individuals haven't, and not even a clue.
Yeah.
Some people it spreads immediately.
Some
people it doesn't spread at all.
I personally think that there's like a bunch of different,
versions
like
of
there's
it.
like mutations out there, and I think some people get like the original strain, unmutated. Those are pretty bad. I think there was some mutation that's like asymptomatic or whatever.
Right.
You just get a few of the symptoms, but I think there's a couple different versions of it floating around out there. That's just my theory.
Speaking of, let's kind of like transition now.
Let's talk about wrestling with
COVID. Because there's a lot to talk about with this.
So last week, it came out, talk about like a real depressing week of news for professional wrestling, like just the worst. I love this genre of entertainment, like I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't love it.
Of course not.
And it, like, everything that's been coming out about wrestling lately has just been really making me sad, really difficult to cover. Because it's just so damn depressing, from everything from, the speaking out movement, it's depressing to see how awful wrestling is, if you're a woman, it's just terrible. I mean, like, we've all heard, like we talked about last week, we're not going to get into it again this week, but, there are stories that, the legends tell, about, the ring rats and women and da-da-da-da-da. And like these are like the legendary party stories, and everybody gets a big yuck out of it. But how much of that would be considered sexual assault today? And like to think that that's still going on backstage at these shows, it's pretty brutal.
It's heart wrenching, honestly.
And covering the companies and how they cover it. Like Ring of Honor waited a week to get their statement out. AEW really. I don't really feel like they were proactive in their approach, and just never really released a statement to the media. They've just been issuing tweets and stuff like that. They haven't really gone about it right. WWE at least took some action against some of the people. The Matt Riddle thing, apparently they had known about that situation for well over a year. They investigated it and they found nothing. But Travis Banks, Ligero, and Jack Gallagher gone. And I would say, as they keep going on, more to come. I'm very curious about what action they take against Travis Banks. He's still the NXT Cruiserweight Champion. All depressing stuff. It's just sad. It's just sad. It's a sad story to cover. But this thing with WWE and COVID, like, we've talked about how like it's a ticking time bomb for the company.
Yeah.
To be running these shows. They had people in the crowd, granted that most of them were developmental, but then we found out that some of them were friends and family of people in the company. In the crowd, no masks. There seemed to be like no prevention. All they were doing was taking temperatures. They had a huge outbreak in the past week.
They didn't have.
We don't know the full numbers of people that were affected, but you can tell just by watching these shows. Look at this. Look at the roster that was there on SmackDown. Look at wow. Like there was hardly anybody there. They had 3 matches, and like they used basically everybody that was in the building at that time. Like even tonight, Austin Theory was conspicuous by his absence. Natalya and Tyson Kidd came to the Performance Center with fevers. They don't have COVID, but out of an abundance of caution, they were kept away. Renee Young publicly posted that she had it. Jamie Noble, Adam Pearce, guys who work very closely with Bruce Pritchard, who's had his own history of health problems.
Right.
Vince McMahon, who's 74 years old, and I don't care how much of a gladiator he looks like, he's still 74.
Of course.
And then you got the Nature Boy Ric Flair there. They're still flying him out there. I got to tell you, like, the way they are handling this COVID situation is just appalling. And then they're they're still thinking maybe in August we can rent that arena and get that company to send us extras. Look at Florida. They're taping in Florida. Florida is an absolute disaster, and Governor Ron DeSantis should be ashamed of himself. He honestly, it's like I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, you got to resign. You did something wrong. You got to resign. No, but this is like next level bad how he handled this situation. Wanting to keep the beaches open, waiting until the very last minute when people were actually getting sick during spring break. Not closing everything down, then doing a pussy ass, closing down of, like their businesses and stuff like that. It's like totally pussyfooting the freaking situation. And then they reopen, and now they're closing their businesses again because they're having record breaking numbers every day. This guy's a disaster, and that's where WWE is running out of right now. Caleb Braxton, second time getting COVID. It's crazy.
Which kind of proves that's another thing that people have been saying, oh, once I get it, I can go out and do whatever. No, that's not true. You can get it again. Like it's not, and again, I'm not trying to get political here, but the one thing that they got very, very greedy. They really were just kind of like, oh, it's not a big deal anymore. I think the more and more people they were progressively letting into the building, and the more they were kind of pushing their limit of people not wearing masks and not social distancing and everything else. And then this happens. And this happened because that they just were like, oh, no big deal, no big deal, no big deal, no big deal. And they were pushing the envelope a little bit more each week. And then finally, boom, it just kind of exploded into what it has now. So now what is happening is, now they're finally wearing masks. Yeah. Should have done that from the beginning. Like, it would have been... I know that you want to bring some sort of life into this. Excuse me. And you want to be able to bring some sort of normalcy. But that's not where we're at. And we're not going to be there for a long time. That's okay. So yes, it's fine that you bring some people in. No big deal. You can kind of maneuver the camera to be able to finagle and look like there's more of a crowd there than there is. It's fine. If you want to have in some noise, great. Have some crowd noise. Have to do what they did with Edge and Randy Orton. Not saying for every match or whatever, or what have you.
I'd go for it.
But take precaution. They weren't doing that. It was like, why couldn't they wear a mask from the get-go?
Yeah.
Everybody else in this world is. Oh, because they work in
not everybody. Our politicians aren't exactly modeling good mask behavior here.
No, but what I mean is a majority of places you go into, and whether you like it or not, most businesses require that you wear a mask when you walk in the door, right?
That's true.
Most businesses require that if you are outside seating, you are 6 feet apart. So, but what made WWE think that they were in? And there's probably some people who had it who have it even now asymptomatic.
Right.
But I don't know. To me, like, it's just silly at this point. I would rather them do what they need to do, like really take the social distancing seriously and have crowd noise. I don't need to look at a crowd. I don't need to look at anybody. I just, like, you have music playing in the background. You have crowd noise in the background like they did for Edge and Randy Orton. Fine by me. I'm not about, like, people having to risk their lives and getting sick in order to get entertained. I'm not that selfish. Like, yeah, and I definitely want to go to a show again eventually. And, am I bummed out that we're not going to SummerSlam this year because we were going to go to SummerSlam this year? Absolutely. But not at the cost of somebody else's, so I'm entertained. Me, Victoria Tedesco, is entertained.
Not interested at all. I mean, like, honestly, Randy Orton wasn't at the show tonight. He wasn't on the show. And Ric Flair was there. You could have done... I mean, Rey Mysterio and Dominic didn't go to the show tonight. They were doing live via satellite things with Rey Mysterio, which was clearly like they were at the Performance Center doing that, right?
Right.
Like you could tell, like the camera quality was different. And this time, it was literally like Rey on Skype or on his webcam, because you could tell like there's a difference with the cameras. And if Rey really was from home, you wouldn't see any difference, would you? So Rey and Dominic, either whether, you know, they just said like, we're not coming until like this thing's kind of cleared up or whatever, or whatever the case is. I don't know, but like, these are just like observations that you make just from watching the show. Who's there, who's not. You know, Talia wasn't there, Austin Theory wasn't there, Mysterio and Dominic weren't there. They didn't sound like they were sick. I'm not saying that they have COVID or anything like that at all. I know Rey Mysterio, initially when this all happened, they kept him back, just because he might have been exposed to it. I believe his wife is a doctor. He and Dominic were home. You know, like you could have done Ric Flair's thing from home, like had him just pop on the thing. You don't need him around other wrestlers, and it's not like they kept like Ric Flair away from people. He walked right up to Andrade and Angel Garza and Zelina Vega after a match. He was all over the place. Well, why?
Well, and also
why
too,
do you need? Was Ric Flair really that important to telling this story?
Well,
really?
Here's another thing too, which you don't know what they're doing. So yeah, it's all, well, one can argue, right? Maybe one can argue like, oh no, we've been around each other for we've been around each other for now the past few months. Right?
Yeah.
So we're okay. Like, we're okay with each other. I don't know where this one went, though, when they went home for that time being or duration.
Right.
You don't know if people are quarantining, actually. That's the issue. Because in theory, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say me, you, and Uncle Billy, our Uncle Billy, are together, right? And we've been together for 3 months, okay? The three of us haven't gone anywhere. Right? Yeah. And then we have another group of family who they have not gone anywhere for 3 months. And then another 3 people, right? So we have like 9 people, okay, that they haven't been anywhere for 3 months. In theory, yeah, we're fine, right? We can all be together and be okay. The problem is, though, all it takes is someone like me, who I'm like, no, actually, I've been going out every day, to come in and to ruin it for everyone.
Yeah.
So even though they've all been together for months, because I'm sure it's the argument that they're making is like, oh no, but I've been around this person now for a while and I haven't gotten sick and whatever. But now that more things are opening up and things that you have a little bit more free range to do stuff, people aren't staying home like they were. People aren't quarantining like they are for 2 weeks or whatever. So that's why, too, it probably came to a head as well, because even though they were around each other, now they started venturing out a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's well, I mean, like, it's not even like, you know, little bit players that came down with the COVID. You know, it's like Adam Pearce, who's a WWE producer, who's very involved in all the makings of all the matches, and Caleb Braxton, who's interviewing everybody, and Renee Young was in the ring with AJ Styles last, you know, like on when they taped SmackDown, not this past week's but the previous weeks. You know, she was there. She has the COVID now. You know, Jamie Noble involved in making matches. It's crazy. I mean, it's just so reckless to send Ric Flair out there. Ric Flair almost died, and just looking at a comment from Andrew Elder, he was asking about He said, doesn't it look like Ric Flair had a stroke at some point? He talks kind of slurred, and then his face looks droopy on one side. Well, Ric's always had I've always thought that Ric Flair sounds like, especially as he got older, he sounded like he had been talking after biting his tongue in half. You know, it's always like he had that kind of weird lispy kind of thing that he does. But when Ric Flair got sick in 2016, how bad he was, he had to relearn how to talk. So that's part of it. And then of course, you know, he was laid up with other health impairments as well. We all saw those videos that he did. I don't know who was letting him post on his YouTube when he was like calling everybody out when he was still high on drugs from another heart procedure. So yeah, this guy has real heart issues. I don't think he gave up drinking, and he really should have, because I think he had that like was it pericardia from
something like
too
that.
much.
Yeah.
It's just so reckless, and it's like how like in this company that's valued at a couple billion on Wall Street, and how can they be so reckless? Like, imagine if Rick got COVID at the show. Like,
And he still very well could.
He still very well could. He absolutely very well could. I don't know if Charlotte would sue, but it goes right to the spouse, which is Wendy Barlow, and who knows how she would react. Maybe she does sue the company, and I mean, because for reckless endangerment, I'm sure they made Rick sign all these waivers, but like of all the things, you could say, AEW, they have stringent policies in place. They haven't had an outbreak there. Their champion, John Moxley, was exposed to COVID, and he told them immediately, and he stayed home. Doesn't matter. Like they have Fyter Fest coming up next week. He's supposed to face Brian Cage with the world title on the line. If he's still quarantined, if he starts showing symptoms, damn the match. We'll have it later. It's not worth it for you to come in.
No one's immune to it, and I think that again the problem is that
I just want to just finish up this one thing. I'm just saying, like, they have policies in place to like take care of this thing. Like WWE should be saying, like, if you're of a certain age, like that 60 seems to be the magic number. 60 or 65, and if you have pre-existing conditions. It doesn't matter your age. You can't be on the show. We'll pay you your guarantee in full as if you were there. It's not your fault that you can't be there, but we're in a pandemic right now. Your health is more important to us as a company. But then again, this is the same company that sends them into Saudi Arabia. And we know, how many lawsuits have to come out, talking about what happened when that plane was held or delayed. It could be disgruntled employees, and that's why I generally don't run those stories, but enough of the same story keeps coming out. It's like they sent them into a really, really bad situation. So WWE, as a $1 billion company, maybe they don't care about their performers as much as they claim they do.
Well, that's what I was saying just now. They're willing to go the extra mile to make sure that you're entertained, but at somebody else's health.
They're not. They don't care about your entertainment. Like I always thought that was like the biggest BS statement. Oh, we're woven into the fabric of Americana. Then why like not even a third not even a good chunk of America watches this show anymore. They're woven into the fabric.
No, they do care about the entertainment, and I'll tell you why. Because and I'm not saying
their money, their TV deals.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. You let me finish because that's what I'm saying. It's not about entertainment necessarily to the person, but it's about entertainment for their money and for the purposes of that. That's why. They don't care who you are. They want you there, and that's the bottom line. To them, yeah, like you said, AEW, they have Fight Fest coming up, right?
Yeah.
Moxley's a huge part of that.
He's their world champion, yeah.
Right. But they're not letting him. May not let him wrestle, obviously, because of what Renee Young having it, and he's been exposed. Okay.
I think Uncle Billy hit the nail right on the head over here. Let me just read his little comment. Because they know no one covers WWE. They don't care about bad press, and you know what? I think that's at the end of the day. I think that's the answer right there. There was a COVID outbreak in this company, and they're still running shows and putting people's health at risk. I haven't seen it covered in a single news story anywhere other than the wrestling media. Maybe that's it. They don't care. It's like, well, we can do whatever we want.
They know, but wait a minute. We know that they don't care. That's the whole thing.
I know that, but I mean, if they were getting bad press and being pressured, that's a different story. No one cares. Just no one cares about wrestling. Not even the news programs.
No, nobody cares about wrestling because
I mean, it's a company that is listed on the New York Stock Exchange. Like it's worth a couple billion. No one cares.
No, but COVID didn't even exist 2 weeks ago.
COVID doesn't exist in Vince McMahon's mind. This is just like
not even in WWE. COVID did not even exist 2 weeks ago.
Oh well,
it didn't.
Well, yeah. Well,
I'm saying it's obviously here, but it didn't exist because with everything that was going on with the riots and the protests and everything with the Black Lives Movement, it didn't exist. Okay. In terms of like nobody was talking about it.
Right.
It was still happening.
Right.
But nobody was talking about it.
I get what you're saying. It's like people just said, okay, well, I guess we're moved on from that. Like the people that think that COVID's like this great hoax. As if there wasn't like a refrigerator truck parked in front of a Brooklyn hospital for 3 months, keeping the dead COVID bodies chilled so that they could be eventually brought to a funeral home, like as if this was like a big hoax.
Right.
And I think you're right there. Like it didn't exist 2 weeks ago because and people thought it was all over, and then of course now we got this big spike.
Yeah.
Because
people got a little bit too
complacent.
They
thought it was over.
They thought it was over.
Nobody
was talking about it.
You keep hearing that, like, oh, when it gets warm, it's gonna go away. I'm sweating my ass off lately, and it's here now more than ever.
A full vengeance.
It's just crazy. This whole entire thing is just crazy. Do you know, Mr. V? Do you know who is healthy and always? You know who is always healthy and able to carry any title? Vacant, the vacant world champion. Andrew Elder. Well, COVID-19 is the new AEW champ. Too much is going for WWE to matter. Yeah, I think Crash is right. Yeah, like WWE's very small blip on the radar. But there should be some watchdog to hold the company accountable. And, wrestling news sites that they probably aren't it to do that. But somebody should be holding, some organization should be holding this company accountable. Not enough people are. Yeah, and then you see like things like that come out on like public comments, like sent to like those Orange County, boards saying like, we are, being, we know that if we tell them no, like if I'm a lower tier person, and I know that if I tell them I can't make it, I'm fired. They'll find a way to get rid of me. Like they're not going to fire Roman Reigns. They're not going to fire Randy Orton. They're not going to fire Ric Flair. But like Ric Flair is notorious for not making good decisions. You have to make the decision for him. Tell them nobody above this age gets in. Even Vince. Control it from home. He can Skype like Jesus. But now what's interesting. Here's another thing that's interesting. Vince obviously lives in Stamford. New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut aren't allowing anybody from Florida to fly into their states. Now, there's a loophole that he could fly into, I guess. He could probably fly into, like, Rhode Island and drive down to Stamford. He could probably fly into Pennsylvania and drive up. There is a loophole there.
Isn't there a loophole, too? Because he's probably flying private anyway.
No. They won't. If that plane is routed from Florida, you're not landing at a New York airport. That's it. Right.
But if he flies private to, like you said, Rhode Island, then
yeah,
he can fly
it doesn't matter. Well, they could even get on a plane to Rhode Island,
right?
Like a regular commercial flight, and be totally fine. But so there are loopholes there. But it's appalling. It's stupid. It's ridiculous, and I don't know how it's going on. And I think we've talked about it for far too long now. But yeah, like WWE. Shame on you, especially for bringing Ric Flair out tonight. Shame. Let's talk about Monday Night Raw. And because that's part of our job. That's what we do here on Post Raw. We talk about Monday Night Raw. We also talk about what's happening in WWE. So that's why we just spent a little time talking about that. But as we were saying before, WWE was Raw was a pretty easy watch. And looking at what the people said on Twitter poll tonight, it's got a 71% thumbs up. I'm rounding up right here, 70.7%, but it's 71% thumbs up. So people are, and if this stays the way it is right now, that would be another show under the Bruce Pritchard reign, 3 weeks in now, where it's a thumbs up. People are definitely enjoying the show a little more. I know I am.
Oh, me too.
So we'll just go, we'll breeze through it quickly. We don't have to go through everything in great detail. Chris LG, I live in Connecticut, guys. One correction regarding flying. Yes, I'd like to be able to read that. And Andrew Elder says Daniel will be sad at that number. Well, you know what? Daniel's not here. Somebody's got to get Daniel back on this dang show. You got to do it. Okay, so Chris says you are not banned from flying from Florida to Connecticut. Oh, I thought I read that it was banned, or that the Florida was on one of those can't fly into the state lists that the Connecticut, New Jersey, and New York governors all agreed on. Like, we're not letting people into this area.
Yeah, maybe they
Oh, okay. So he's right. Let me correct myself then. So if you fly in, you have to quarantine for 2 weeks. You have to quarantine. You can't go out.
Right.
So it's just not. It might not even be worth it to come back in. Yeah. So there you go. And Andrew Elder says Daniel's busy playing Final Fantasy VII, trying to get some golden bird thing. That is so Daniel. How can he do this to us, Victoria?
How Daniel of you.
How can he do this to us?
I know.
I'm gonna get him. We're gonna get him.
Now he's on the list.
He just made Victoria's list.
Somebody tell him.
Yeah.
I think Andrew should tell him.
Andrew?
Yeah.
Let him know.
Andrew, let him know.
Let him know. All right. So we open up the show. Big brawl happening in the ring. Sasha Banks and Bayley double teaming Asuka. So they were going to kick off with the contract signing. And you know how much I love promos to kick off these shows.
You do.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I love it so much.
Your favorite.
My favorite thing in the world. So they're going to do a promo. I am bummed about that. I hate promos, you know that. But starting off with a little bit of a brawl, I'll take that all day long.
Yeah.
I'll take that all day long.
It's different.
So, yeah, like they did their little brawl. They break it up. Samoa Joe was great in this, too. He's like, separate them. You had 3 weeks. You had to wait 3 weeks. Like, Joe is so damn good on commentary.
Good.
Like,
He's so good.
What an improvement. I believe me, I love me some Jerry Lawler. I'm a huge Jerry Lawler fan. You watch some of those like classic shows. It's like, yeah, JR on the call really made some moments, but those pay-per-views were made, really extra watchable just by Jerry Lawler's little quips. Like I remember, as I'm doing like the retro recaps, even like recapping WrestleMania 10 it was like Bam Bam Bigelow and Luna Vachon versus Doink and Dink, and Jerry Lawler just kind of like that match was hideous. And Jerry Lawler kind of made it fun just with his little quips and stuff like that.
But I know where you're going with this. Even though Lawler's a great asset to the commentary team, Samoa Joe is equally as essential at this point.
I would say so.
He's healthier, and he's not in the age category or the health category where he's at risk for COVID.
Correct. Yes. So it makes a lot of sense for Jerry Lawler not to be there, for sure.
And we can all agree that we all enjoy Samoa Joe.
Yeah. Andrew Eldridge says, speaking of old dudes not needing to be there, Lawler says he's going down there hoping to be used. If they're letting Jerry Lawler, oh my God, if they're letting Jerry Lawler in there, holy crap. I can't even on that one. That is just absurd. Anyway, I lower this brightness a little bit. So the contract signing kicks off. They bring out so there's gonna be a dual contract signing. Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre eventually come out. Ziggler talks about how he created McIntyre and he's going to destroy him. He's going to take that WWE Championship from him and destroy his life and whatever. Blah 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 blah. McIntyre says, "Yeah, I was fired. I went through hell personally, professionally, but the biggest lesson of all is this is a mental game, not physical." Ziggler needs to be the center of attention. Every time you got to the finish line, you dropped the ball. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. And an Extreme Rules horror show, he'll hurt and slaughter Ziggler. So they signed that. Asuka all of a sudden just cuts off Dolph Ziggler because Drew McIntyre says, you can pick the stipulation too for the match. And then Ziggler's like, really? And then Asuka just starts shouting. And it was so funny.
Love her.
I just love it. And then they get into another brawl again. They eventually book a champions versus challengers match, tag team match later on. One thing I noticed about this promo that I was like laughing at because it was like so absurd was like this tagline that they have for Extreme Rules, the horror show. Like, God, like how many times they have to work that into their promos?
Okay.
And then Extreme Rules, the horror show.
I want to fire the person who's coming up with taglines for matches and for shows.
Yeah, the greatest match ever.
I just want to fire that person, whoever that is. But if it's somebody good, then they just need to take a break for a while because it's really annoying.
Like what? It's like. Extreme. It's like, who talks that way? It kind of reminds me. What was that one pay-per-view called where it had a tagline on it and they kept saying it? It was so roadblock. It was like roadblock, and at roadblock end of the line or something like that. It's like, God, how many? Like, can you just say roadblock? Like, is it really that important to say end of the line?
Again,
the horror show. What's so horrifying about it? Other than They don't even have like a horror theme on like the screens that they make.
They should have done a horror.
It's like a nice like
for
purple
Halloween.
theme. It's like a nice purple theme. Yeah, they should have done like a horror show for like and brought back Halloween Havoc, especially if we're still doing these arena shows like this. Heading into the fall.
Right? Like, come on,
these performance center shows.
Like, it's just Yeah, whoever's creating these taglines just needs to stop. Like, I better see some like ghouls and goblins at this thing
Right.
if it's going to be
Like,
that horror.
On the flip side, NXT's been kind of killing it with like their theme shows. Like they brought back In Your House in July. Now they're doing the Great American Bash.
But they're not throwing in your face though.
No, but those are like at least like decent themes. Like
I'm
Great
all
American
about a
Bash
theme.
for like 4th of July weekend. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm
In
all
Your
about
House
theme.
It's like, but like the horror show in the middle of July, like. This whole entire situation is a horror show.
I know.
You know?
It's just going to be pictures of people with COVID and
Now, I will say this. I do love these ideas of having themes for things. Like,
Me too.
Like AEW is going to be doing 2 weeks of Fyter Fest. It's going to be a Dynamite themed, Dynamite's going to have the Fyter Fest theme. NXT is going to have the Great American Bash theme for the next 2 weeks. Last week was Championship Monday. A couple weeks ago on SmackDown, they did something like Triple H's 25th anniversary, tribute to the Undertaker. Like they have theme shows. I love the idea of, like doing a theme. Not every week, obviously, because that gets played out. But like I think I talked about this last week. Like once a month.
I like it's almost like Spirit Week. Like you enjoy it when it comes, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
And so like
But,
these little things that happen intermittently they're cool.
Right. Now you have your big pay-per-view like Extreme Rules and you have SummerSlam and all that stuff, but there's no problem with like doing like a theme show like bring like they did with Raw Reunion last year.
Yeah.
But like do it once a month. I think it'd be great. Bring back like Raw Roulette or this is going to be like like they did Championship Monday, maybe do like Mixed Tag Monday or something, just something like Random Match Monday or Taboo Monday or Manic Monday, whatever it is, and have the fans vote and just do it that way. I think that's a great idea.
I do too.
It's a lot of fun.
I do too.
And and Quentin Walsh says in WWE's newest pay-per-view Mind Block where people have COVID. Oh
God.
Ay. So anyway, I thought this was a good contract signing. I'm not, and I hate contract signings generally. I think they're just a giant waste of time. But starting off with the brawl, ending with the brawl, totally good. Angel Garza talking to the female referee Jessica Carr, trying to like flirt with her. I think they were trying to get an advantage, but she wasn't having it. And then Charlie Caruso comes up and she's like, and she's like I actually like Charlie Caruso in anything with Angel Garza right now.
Yes,
she's playing that part really well. So I'm coming around on Charlie Caruso a little bit. And, of course, as soon as Charlie comes up, she's like, oh, what were you talking to the referee about, Angel? And Zelina Vega immediately steps in the middle, calling her $2 Chuck, and, just really just not happy that Charlie flirts with Angel Garza. It's good stuff.
It is.
I really, really like this
when
stuff.
they give somebody, like, Charlie just needed kind of like of a role sort of situation. You know what I mean?
Like a character.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I never understood like this thing where backstage announcers can't have characters. Not everybody's gonna be like Mean Gene taking over the segments. Is she up?
Yeah.
She is. All right, I'm going to switch the camera to myself and continue talking about this Raw while Victoria goes and deals with the baby who is teething something hardcore, really, really bad, very sad. Anyway, you can see in my shot that I have my SpiderMan Cross Pen here. I love this pen. Such a good writing implement. Anyway, moving on. So the Big Show interrupts that interview, comes out and says, I gotta talk to Randy Orton, so I'm gonna be skipping you guys or whatever. It's like, okay, I guess you can do that. That's totally fine. It's like, wow, okay. So Big Show comes out. He calls out Randy Orton. He says, come on, Orton, I'm a legend and you're the legend killer. So Big Show's calling himself a legend, and I was like, well, yeah, Big Show is a legend in a sense, but I also it's hard sometimes like when you have to consider Shokishi and the Showster as part of Big Show's legacy. So sometimes like he was a legend. I think about that Akibono match at WrestleMania 21. It's very scary. Andrade and Angel Garza come out, and they're kind of laughing at the fact that Big Show called himself a legend, which I was like, I'm with the heels on this one. And they say, they're going to do the legend killer Randy Orton a favor by showing Big Show what happens when you disrespect Andrade and Angel Garza. Big Show, your days on Raw are numbered, but you can say hi to Edge and Christian in the retirement home. So they go to the apron, get ready to attack. Ric Flair comes out. And I already told you my thoughts on Ric Flair coming out. But he cut a good promo here. Ric Flair is, for a guy who had to relearn how to talk, this guy cuts one heck of a promo. He still looks really good. The guy looks great. Let me switch over to that screen real quick. He still looks like Ric Flair. Can't say he doesn't. And he says something like, Big Show, you've been making cartoons for Netflix. That's great. Everyone wants that spot in Hollywood. You're going to be in the Hall of Fame one day, but if you play around with Randy Orton, he'll just be a bigger legend killer while you will be on the outside looking in. And Ric Flair, who right before in the promo said something weird, and I couldn't really understand what he said, but he said no one is going to run or focus on Big Show's career other than his friend, the greatest wrestler alive today, as well as the man, Randy Orton, but he's also the man who will take him out. So they care about Big Show's career, but they're also going to take him out or something like that. I didn't quite get the logic there, but again, I guess the heel, you're not supposed to always get the heel's logic. So Andrade and Garza go to attack, but the Viking Raiders run down and a brawl breaks out. So I thought it was a fun segment. Look, it's a good use of Ric Flair. One thing I have to say is, they're not embarrassing Flair out there. He's not like going out there and being a goof or, I don't know if Ric Flair can even take a bump anymore, but he's not getting beat up. He's not getting treated like they normally treat legends in WWE. Maybe they are taking a little bit of a cue from AEW and how to treat legends properly. That would be, that's a good change if they make that change. Andrade Angel Garza versus the Viking Raiders. I really, really enjoyed this match. It was a lot of fun. Andrade and Angel Garza pick up the win here. Look, I like I said, last week I was raving about what they did with the Viking Raiders. With the Street Profits. Street Profits weren't there tonight, so no Viking Profits to protect them or help them. So that's another, conspicuously absent group, a conspicuously absent duo there. Whether they decided we're not going in because of the COVID or, maybe they have it. Who knows? I don't know. Everything would just be speculation, but fact is they weren't there. So, but the Viking Raiders really, they got so much out of that. They were much more interesting tonight in the ring, watching them doing their thing. A lot of fun. And, Angel Garza and Andrade picking up that win. I was like, good. They look great there. But then it comes out like, and they did like this, also in the middle of the match, they did this random thing where Andrade walked away for a second and then he came back. Like it wasn't very clear why he walked away other than just like they have been having issues, but like I didn't see anything that would cause an issue. So like they didn't really tell that part of the story well, but other than that, it was pretty good. And I was like, good. Andrade and Angel Garza, they're going to be going for the tag team titles apparently. Although if the Street Profits aren't around for the next few weeks, who knows what's going to happen. But, I was like, good. What a great night for them. Then it comes out that they're facing Big Show in a 2-on-1 handicap match later on. It's like, really? So Big Show's going in there with the advantage. I mean, yeah, granted, it's a 2-on-1 handicap match, so the face is at the disadvantage, but they already had a match, and he's the Big Show. He's a big dude. So it doesn't really seem like very fair there. Ruby Riott backstage trying to get in touch with Liv Morgan, who was not there tonight. The Iconics walk up. They make fun of her. And then Riott says, oh, well, you guys blew your tag team title opportunity last week. And then they say, well, at least we have each other. We're friends and you have no friends. So Riott mocks them, challenges them to a singles match, and walks away. Liv Morgan also not there tonight. Ric Flair walks up to Andrade Angel Garza, says that he wants to talk to them privately. We don't know what that was about, and it didn't show up on this show tonight. Akira Tozawa with the Ninjas versus R-Truth. R-Truth pins him in no time flat to win the 24/7 championship back. He is now a 37-time champion. That's great. Great. Anyway, so they have Seth Rollins come out. He's carrying Rey Mysterio's mask. Multiple times he said that Rey Mysterio is supposed to be, a sacrifice and this and that. He's got a duty to be a sacrifice for Monday Night Raw. It's like he kept just saying that over and over again. Little by little, he said he's going to tear Mysterio apart until there's nothing left but a memory. Rey Mysterio appears on the Titantron. It looked like it was legitimately on Skype. It looked like he was legitimately at home. And he tells Seth to remember, an eye for an eye. What he'll do to Rollins isn't by fate, it'll be by design. He only asks, he is going to ask for forgiveness, but it's going to be from his son for what he's going to do. And Dominic says he does forgive his father, but he'll never forgive Seth Rollins. Rollins will never forget what his father does to him. That will be ordained by fate. Afterward, Aleister Black and Humberto Carrillo come out. Rollins quickly runs away. Winds up being Seth Rollins and Murphy versus Aleister Black and Humberto Carrillo. No Austin Theory tonight. He wasn't even mentioned. So, Crash says, Flair talking to the groom and best man. That's actually pretty good, yeah. Are Andrade and Charlotte Flair engaged? I think they got engaged on New Year's Eve. Yeah, so that is a thing. It's kind of funny, Ric Flair there with his future son-in-law. That's going to be an interesting Thanksgiving. Charlotte and Andrade, along with Beth, I believe his daughter's name is Beth, or maybe that was his wife's name, his second wife's name. He's had a lot of wives. Oh, no, Megan. Megan's his daughter's name. She's married to Conrad Thompson. Rumor and innuendo. What a Thanksgiving table that's going to be. Wow, just golly. Wow. So Rollins and Murphy versus Humberto Carrillo and Aleister Black. I really like the way that they used Humberto Carrillo here. I don't know if it's like they're kind of back on the Carrillo train or what. I mean, Carrillo does take the pin here. Carrillo did get beat up after the match, but like during the match, he got a lot of offense in on Seth Rollins in particular, and he looked super strong here, and it was way better than they've treated him in the past. Now, Carrillo has been like that guy that they were pushing and then they just destroy him every chance. And it's like he never really had any chances in a match and he loses, pretty clearly. Here, he got distracted and he got the loss, but it wasn't as bad. Like maybe I'm just watching this, a little more forgiving because Bruce is running the show and it's only his third week, but a lot better usage of him, even though he does get beat up after the match. Aleister Black, noticeably, they've kind of pulled off on, focusing on him so much. That was a Paul Heyman project, so it remains to be seen what they're going to do with him. But he didn't take the pin here, so there's that. Maybe they're getting wise and saving that up, or maybe they see something in him. I like Aleister Black. I think he needs a manager, though. Anyway, Seth Rollins and Murphy get the pin. Rollins hits Carrillo with the stomp after a distraction. Afterward, Rollins puts the Rey Mysterio mask on Humberto Carrillo and gives him a really nicely done looking stomp on the steel steps. I thought that looked pretty damn convincing, looked pretty darn good. I like that. Let's see that again. Ouch. I like that pauses. Oh. Finding out new things more and more about this computer is pretty good. Anyway, yeah, good match, good storyline, follow through, and I like what they're doing there. What's next? Oh yeah, we had this great tribute to The Undertaker. So we talked about The Undertaker last week, and basically all my memories of wrestling have The Undertaker in it. He debuted in 1990. I was only 3 years old, so I really don't remember it that well. I don't remember it at all, to be honest with you. But from when I started watching wrestling, Undertaker's always been around, always that constant. I've been to so many shows and seen him. I've seen both of his WrestleMania losses. Hard for me to believe that the career is over, though. I mean, he did say in the thing, break glass in case you need the Undertaker. So it's possible that he could come back. I mean, let's say next year, in time for WrestleMania 37 or whatever. They say, or I personally. Between me and you, I personally don't think that WrestleMania 37 is going to be taking place at that stadium, at SoFi. I think it's called SoFi Stadium. Number one, I don't even think it's open yet. I don't know if they finished the construction on it. But number two, I just don't think California's going to allow a big show to run like that if there's not a vaccine. I can't imagine it. I just can't imagine them doing it. So they could either relocate WrestleMania or they could. Or it'll be something different like it was this year. I think they can have, hopefully they can have crowds then, but, not really, really big crowds like they would want for like a WrestleMania. But at some point, I mean, like there is so much money. Like Undertaker did that Boneyard match. It was great. It was really, really great. He talks about it on the video how, good he felt after that, even though, like sadly his older brother passed away the night before they taped it. But like how taxing it was on his body, and how he's pretty happy with that being his ending. But, the Undertaker should have his last match in front of fans. That should be his last match. Now, oddly enough, if that truly is his last match, and the last match that he had in front of fans would have been that Extreme Rules tag match, which I was there for. So if I could say that I'm one of the last people to witness The Undertaker wrestle live, I'd be pretty proud of that. But I think there's so much money in, like, if they give him like the Ric Flair treatment. Undertaker gets inducted in the Hall of Fame, and then he has his final WrestleMania match. I think you just give him a win. I think whoever he faces, he gets the win, because that's just how The Undertaker was. I don't think he should have a third WrestleMania loss. I think he should, pick up one more win and ride off into the sunset. I just think that character deserves to have the big fireworks, the big standing ovation. And I think he should, he's at a place where he should be able to enjoy it as well. So I hope he gets that moment. What does everybody think in the chat room about that? Andrew Elder saying, I wanted it to happen at Survivor Series. Yeah, I mean, that would have been great. I don't know if they will even be able to have shows at the Staples Center for November or whatever. Not the Staples Center, but I don't think they'll be having shows for Survivor Series, in November. I think Survivor Series is supposed to be in Chicago. Andrew was saying Staples Center for WrestleMania maybe, but I don't know. It's interesting. It's all interesting. I'd love to see The Undertaker get that one last opportunity though. Anyway, moving on. See, I don't have much to talk about. Okay, so Peyton Royce is the one who's going to face Ruby Riott, and that's what happens now. Lana came out and said something to Ruby Riott before she went out, and because Natalya wasn't there, her and Tyson Kidd or TJ had fevers, so they weren't. They don't have COVID. It's been confirmed they don't have COVID, but they were kept out of the arena, out of the performance center, out of an abundance of caution. So they had Lana go out there and say that Natalya has the most wisdom of any woman that's ever stepped foot in the ring. So putting her over, keeping that thing alive. Peyton Royce is the one who will be facing Ruby Riott, and I gotta say, this is the secret sauce for the Iconics going forward. Billie Kay was excellent in her role at ringside, very funny. I loved her with the Ruby Riott interaction backstage, that little promo that they did before, to lead to this match, where Ruby Riott does their pose and she goes, "Don't do it, don't do it." Oh, she did it, and like Peyton, like Billie Kay is such a great character. In the ring, she's terrible, but as a character, she's great. So she deserves to be there, just not in the ring. This is the way to do it. I think Peyton Royce with Billie Kay at ringside, make Peyton Royce a singles star. I think everybody would be very happy. Like Billie Kay part-time or whatever. But Peyton Royce picks up the win over Ruby Riott with a spinning brainbuster after Billie Kay distracts her. So that's good stuff. That's the way you got to keep it going. Big Show faces Andrade and Angel Garza. Again, the face has a little bit of an advantage over them because he's humongous, and they already had a match against the Viking Raiders, who were powerhouses as well, even though they did get the win. Big Show beats them. He chokeslams Andrade after Garza walks off. When Garza managed to get Big Show on his knee with a drop kick, and then Andrade wanted to steal the thunder and tags himself in. They get into a fight. Garza walks off and says, "Hey, this is your moment now. Go enjoy it." Andrade turns into a chokeslam from the Big Show, gets the win, and afterward, Big Show picks him up by the hair and knocks him out with a KO punch as a sign to Randy Orton. Yeah, good stuff. I don't really have much to say. I don't like Andrade and Angel Garza being fed to the Big Show like that, but I think that's a byproduct of the light roster that they have right now with the COVID-19 going on. I had something else I wanted to say, and of course it just slipped out of my mind, but it'll come back. But yeah, Big Show looks dominant. Even though he hasn't been around in a while, he dominated these two. It is what it is. MVP, Bobby Lashley. So MVP takes on Apollo Crews in a non-title match. MVP says, and I have to agree with him here. It's kind of hard to disagree with him. I kind of like when the heels say things that, yeah, in general, the logic is kind of twisted, but you can also kind of buy into the logic. It's not like so far-fetched. Like that's where I think heels, kind of, a great heel can be, really great if they can kind of toe that line, that gray area where it's like, yeah, I kind of agree with that, but the way you're going about it is kind of dickish. Says that, Cruz, I wanted to be your mentor. I've had a great career, a lot of success, and all I wanted to do was give back. I tried to give back to Cruz and be your mentor, but you turned me down. You don't turn down the advice of the longest reigning United States champion. And Apollo Crews comes out and says, I didn't need your advice. I don't want it, and I don't need your help. I'm going to do this my way. So MVP takes on Apollo Crews. Lashley distracts Crews. MVP hits a big boot in the corner and a fisherman suplex and picks up the win. I believe this is... It was a non-title match, so MVP just pinned the United States champion. But I believe that this is MVP's first victory since returning to WWE in January. So that's pretty interesting. It only took about 6 months for him to get that first darn win. I mean, he was in tag matches where he didn't even get a win. So I believe this is definitely his first singles victory. Definitely. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it is. Of course, afterward, they attack. Bobby Lashley applies a full Nelson to Cruz, and referees try to run down and break him off, but he won't. But they can't get him off. So, and Machine Walls MVP won a match. Yeah, I know. And then Ricochet and Cedric Alexander run down, and then they eventually break Bobby Lashley away, and they hit him with a kick and a missile dropkick to fight him away. We come back from the break. Bobby Lashley is facing Ricochet. And he just kills Ricochet, destroys him, throws him on the floor, one-arm spine buster, crushes him. Ricochet gets a little bit of a flourish, but he's quickly snuffed out. Full Nelson, Bobby Lashley wins by submission. Ricochet's career is just absolutely in the toilet. It remains to be seen if Bruce Pritchard can resurrect him or get Vince to kind of buy into Ricochet. But if Ricochet can't cut a promo, Cedric Alexander can't cut a promo, you're not going to go far in this company. You just aren't. And they are living proof of that. Finally, we get on to the main event. Champions versus challengers. Drew McIntyre and Asuka versus Dolph Ziggler and Sasha Banks. Good match. Fun. Like didn't go too long. It was just fine. Bayley on commentary. Generally, I know for a fact Roy Nemmer is definitely not a fan of Bayley on the doing anything. Like every time I see his SmackDown recaps, he's like, oh my God, Bayley, it's such a chore to watch her. She's awful, blah, 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 blah. And I kind of agree. She has, like she's got that Karen thing down pretty well. So she's definitely doing her job. But on commentary tonight, she was actually quite hilarious. Like like Byron Sachs kept riding her, saying like, oh, you were afraid for Sasha Banks there. She goes, I wasn't afraid for her. I was just afraid for her health. And like, just like these little quips that she's come back with. The distraction of Asuka by going like this. And she goes, who would fall for that? It's like a 4-year-old thing. Bayley was all over the place on this, and she was really good. She's kind of, for someone who never played a heel before, it takes time to kind of develop that character. And it seems like she's coming to a point right now. Now her in-ring work leaves a lot to be desired. Always has. I think that she's been way overhyped through the years. But character work, she's actually kind of getting to that peak of this heel character right now. And she's finally I think she's understanding like this is what this character's going to do and this is what it's not going to do, and do this and that. She's finally, living that character, and it takes a long time to develop that. And you think she turned heel in October of last year. So she's been working on it for a while, and it seems like it's finally coming to a head where it's like, this is the character and this is where we're going with it. So kudos to her for figuring that out, and it's really, really going well. Anyway, Dolph Ziggler and Sasha Banks pick up the win. Banks twists out of an Asuka lock and pins Asuka. So the challengers go over the champions. Drew McIntyre loses this match. He doesn't get pinned, but they lose. So the momentum is on the side of the challengers, Dolph Ziggler and Sasha Banks. So that was Monday Night Raw. Again, like a super easy watch, a really, really easy watch. Bruce Pritchard is putting out good results right now. I really enjoyed this one. What does everybody in the chat room say? Do you give it a thumbs up, thumbs down? I want to know. Darn it. So I'm going to look again at the Twitter poll. It looks like we are still at 71%. Let me confirm. Yes, 71% give it a thumbs up. What was it? Yeah. 71% give it a thumbs up. So it went up a point. I think we were at 70% last time I looked. So I'd like to know what you thought of it as well. I'll give you my thought. I definitely give it a thumbs up. I'll give you like that. Because it was, look, if I don't feel like I watched a 3-hour show at the conclusion of a 3-hour show, that's a huge success. If it wasn't a chore, if I wasn't like, recapping and it's like only 9:30 at night and I'm in my head, I'm like, oh, I envy the dead right now, that's a success. So really quite a nice show. Everything like they are just finding like that right time to like put things like, they picked the right time to put the Undertaker video, the tribute video they did for him, because it was like, okay, we need a breather here. Now we're gonna have a cool down. Now we're gonna pick it up again. Now we're gonna seam these, make these two interviews go into each other. It's like really, really good stuff. And again, the one thing that I love about wrestling is like when other characters get involved in storylines that you just wouldn't expect. So when Big Show is in the ring, Andrade and Angel Garza just wind up out there because he interrupted them before. Like I always go back to that one Raw from 2002 that I watched, and I was like, God, this is like the epitome of just like great writing over here. The Rock, the WWE champion, I think it's like July 2002. You could probably find it on the network. He's in the ring cutting a promo about Brock Lesnar, who's going to face at SummerSlam that year, and Eddie Guerrero comes out, and it's like all of a sudden now it's just like a one-show storyline with just The Rock and Eddie Guerrero in the main event. Eventually Brock comes out and does something, but it like, you wouldn't expect Eddie Guerrero and The Rock to be interacting right at that time, and there he is, because Eddie Guerrero was facing Edge for the Intercontinental title, I think, at the time. So like Andrade and Angel Garza, that was very reminiscent of that for me. Like I really love stuff like that, and Bruce is notorious for things like that. So hopefully that continues. Again, really, really a fun show. Let's look at the chat room saying. Karen and Pal. Yeah. So Andrew Elder gives it a thumbs up. Mr. Uncle Billy says thumbs up. Machoon Walls thumbs up. Andrew Elder says glad they got rid of Heyman. Now that, yes, I kind of have to agree with you there. Quentin Walters thumbs up both Raw and the recap. Thumbs up, thumbs down for Daniel Shields' absence. Agreed. Chris LG gives it a thumbs up as well. Now that's an interesting thing that Andrew just said, because I always tell you, I always text with Billy Hefner as the show is going on, and he brought that up to me tonight too, and he said, I wasn't upset when Heyman got fired. And the more I think about it, I appreciate what Paul Heyman was trying to do. He was put in the unenviable task of every single big star, well, not every single one, but like all the really big established stars going over to SmackDown, while being left with some veterans and mostly young talent. They had the nickname. He had the SmackDown 7 in 2003, and here he had the SmackDown catering crew. I could appreciate what he was trying to do, make, chicken salad out of chicken shit. Not that these guys are chicken shit. They're all great talents, but they weren't being utilized, and you had to build them up into stars. Not an easy thing to do while trying to get ratings and satisfy the old man and make everybody happy. That's why we got a lot of these like outrageous shock storylines, because that's what Paul Heyman always did in his whole entire career. Think about how ECW was formed. He talks to Shane Douglas, before he goes out, in the match for the vacant NWA title, beats Too Cold Scorpio, and then he says you got to throw down the title and do this and say this, and that's how they did it. That's Paul Heyman. His entire career is just basically born out of like shock and surprising you. So all the storylines have to be shocking and surprising and all that stuff. Like that's what he does. But Bruce kind of, he was there for all the glory days of WWE, when they were red hot in the 90s and in the late 90s, early 2000s. He was on the writing team for that. He knows how to do it. I'm sure he can do it again. And he just has a formula and it just works. I don't know if it's working with Paul Bosch or whatever it is, but what Bruce is doing right now is working. It's working better than it was with Heyman. I think Heyman was, trying to build some stars, but I think he was doing too much. And it kind of felt like the shows just felt like too much of a mishmash of things, and just no focus on any one thing. And partly some of that had to do with, I'm sure, Vince 86ing some of the people that Paul wanted to put over as well, like Carrillo. He tried to get Cedric Alexander over, tried to get Ricochet over, and like, Vince is just burying guy after guy after guy. So it gets kind of frustrating, so I think Vince is, Bruce is doing a great job here, and Vince is kind of letting him do his thing. Oh, Acer 5000 in chat room tonight. This week's Raw gets a thumbs up from me. Bruce Pritchard doing a solid job in his executive role for Raw thus far. Hope SmackDown continues that momentum with him on the helm as well. We shall see about that. Quentin Walters, even my angry and pregnant wife Sarah gives the recap a massive thumbs up to you and Victoria. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you very, very much. And Victoria is here just in time to say goodbye. So when she sits down, we'll start wrapping up this show. Victoria's always here to talk about all the good stuff, and then I have to do the grunt work of the recaps, so we can thank Liliana for that. Mm-hmm. How's she doing?
Okay.
She's doing all right. So, Victoria, before we go off, everybody basically gave the show a thumbs up. What do you say? Do you give the show a thumbs up?
For sure.
Yeah. What did you like about the show in particular?
I just like the new dynamic in terms of like the way they even open up the show. Again, yeah, it was a talking segment. That's fine. But it's still the fact that there was a brawl caught my attention. And that's something that I'm just looking for. Things that kind of intermittently would just grab my attention throughout the night. And I started off nicely with that. And, with Bruce Pritchard being in charge and running things, it looks like we're going to be looking at more things like that where they're just going to change things up a little bit. Again, not extreme, but a little bit different, so that way you keep yourself engaged and motivated to watch at this point.
Absolutely. I agree with that a lot. And actually, I was talking about how, like, remember, how I always harp about that Rock Eddie Guerrero thing from Raw in 2002. It's like putting random people together, like they did that tonight with Andrade and Angel Garza and the Big Show. It's like that, like those are two different feuds, and they just kind of intersected right at that. Let
those worlds collide a little bit.
Yes. Put it better than I did. So. On that note, we are going to sign off. I think we'll be back next week. Actually, we'll let you know. We'll have an advisory out there whether we'll be back next week, because it doesn't feel like it, but 4th of July is this weekend. So we might be here, we might not be here. So just be on the lookout for the video. We will definitely post it when we figure it all out. But thank you everybody for joining us tonight. Thank you all so much. Andrew Elder says that he has put Daniel on notice, and he wants Victoria to know that for sure.
Thank you, Andrew.
and Acer 5000, the Wrestleview post Raw recap this week definitely gets a thumbs up for me also. Keep up the great work, Mike and Victoria. Thumbs up all around. #positive-hype. Thank you very much. All right. On that note, we are going to sign off. I am Mike Tedesco, the editor-in-chief of Wrestleview.com.
And I'm Victoria Tedesco.
Have a great week, everybody, and maybe we'll see you next week. Happy 4th of July, if we don't. Anyway, if you're in America. And if not, just have a great 4th of July. Whatever. Have a good one.